Okay, Chapter 9 Study Guide. And I'm hoping that everyone is watching this since weren't able to do this in the classroom due to time. So I'm going to do this just like I would in class. You can stop, rewind, go back and look again, whatever you need to do to make sure that you're prepared for your test. All right, so this says solving with a quadratic formula. So remember, the first thing that we need to do when we're solving a quadratic with a quadratic formula, or all quadratics, basically, is to set it to 0. So I'm going to move this stuff to the other side by doing the opposite operation. So it'll be 3n squared. This minus 8n is going to be plus 8n. And 115 is going to be minus 115 equals 0. Okay? So now we know that 3 is A, B is 8, and C is negative 115. So we're going to have, remember it's opposite of B, plus or minus square root, B squared minus 4 times A times C. All of it, divided by 2 times A. So the opposite of B is 8, so opposite would be negative 8, plus or minus square root of B squared, so 8 squared minus 4 times A times C. All of that divided by 2 times A. All right, now remember, inside, this is my discriminant, and it tells you how many solutions. So we're going to do that first. 8 squared minus 4 times A times C, and that's going to equal 1,444. Okay? So it's positive, so that means I've got 2 solutions. Remember, if it's positive, there's 2 solutions. Negative is no solution. And if it's equal to 0, we have 1 solution. All right, so negative 8 plus or minus square root of 1444 over 6. So square root of 1,444 is 38. So this is going to break off into 2 separate solutions. Negative 8 plus 38 over 6, which is 5. And negative 8 minus 38 divided by 6, which is going to be negative 7.67. So there's your 2 solutions. Okay. Number 2, set it to 0. So we'll have 5x squared. Bring this over to the other side, doing the opposite. So minus 2x minus 51 equals 0. So this is A, B, C. So again, quadratic formula, opposite of B would be positive 2 plus or minus square root of negative 2 squared minus 4 times A times C over 2 times A. So my discriminant, the inside, so be 4 minus 4 times 5 is 20 times negative 51. So your discriminant is going to be 1,024. So we're going to have 2 solutions. So 2 plus or minus square root of 1,024 over 10. So that equals 2 plus or minus, and the square root of 1,024 is 32 over 10. So it's split off to our two solutions. 2 plus 32 divided by 10, so that's going to equal 3.4. And remember, when you put in your calculator, you're dividing this sum by 10. So you've got to put in your calculator 2 plus 32, hit enter, and then divide by 10. Because if you put in your calculator 2 plus 32 divided by 10, you're going to get the wrong answer. Because if you put it that way, you're only dividing the 32. I think you'd end up with like 4.2 or 6.2, 5.2, excuse me. So if you're going to do it, you're going to have to do it this way. Put the parentheses around it. You're dividing the sum by 10, okay? Or just put 2 plus 32, enter, then divide by 10. But hopefully you would know it's 34 divided by 10, which is 3.4. All right. All right, and the other would be 2 minus 32 divided by 10. 2 minus 32 is negative 30. So negative 30 divided by 10 is negative 3. So those are your two solutions. All right, number 3, set it to 0. 5y squared minus 8y plus 7 equals 0. So it's A, B, and C. So opposite of B would be positive 8 plus or minus square root of negative 8 squared minus 4 times 5 times 7 over 2 times A. So your discriminant is going to be negative 8 squared minus 4 times 5 times 7. It's going to be negative 76. And if we have your discriminant is a negative, it means no solution. Okay, so that means if we were to graph that, it's going to be, it's never going to cross the x-axis. Okay, that's why there's no solution. There's no x-intercepts. All right, set this one to 0. R squared plus 5r. And we're going to subtract 12, so that would be minus 66 equals 0. So 1 is A, 5 is B, C is negative 66. So the opposite of B, negative 5 plus or minus square root 5 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 66 over 2 times A. So my discriminant ended up being 289. So that means I'm going to have two solutions. It's a positive number. So negative 5 plus or minus square root of 289 is 17. Remember, most of the time you're going to get decimals, but in this case, we lucked out. So negative 5 plus 17 is 12, divided by 2 is 6, and negative 5 minus 17, that would be negative 22, divided by 2 is negative 11. So those are your solutions. All right. Next section says solve, so we're going to have x equals, right? So basically use whatever method. So we could use quadratic formula. That'll work on all of them. Or you can factor, or you can do square root method. Whichever one you prefer. All right. So we're always going to set them to 0. So k squared minus 17k plus 52 equals 0. And so I'm going to need the factors of 52 that add up to negative 17. So if I look at that, negative 4 times negative 13 is positive 52. And then if I add them together, I get negative 17. So my factors are x minus 4, x minus 13. If I set those to 0, your solutions are 4 and 13, which is basically the opposite of these. Okay? All right, number 2, set it to 0. G squared plus 6g minus 27 equals 0. So think factors of negative 27 that add up to 6. So 3 and 9, so I can factor it. So negative 27, 6, and we're dividing by a. So factors of 27, negative 27 that add up to 6. So I know 9 times 3 is 27. So if I say 9 times negative 3, I get negative 27. If I add them together, I get 6. So that'll work. So g plus 9 times g minus 3. Those are my factors. And if you set them to 0, you get your solutions. Oops, this is a g. G equals negative 9 and g equals 3. All right, number 3. Set it to 0. J squared plus 3j minus 108 equals 0. It's kind of crazy looking there, isn't it? Let me clean that up. Minus 108 equals 0. All right. So let me think about the factors of 108. If I put in my calculator under y equals, put negative 108 divided by x, and then go to my table, look to see if any of those pairs can add up to 3. So I look and I can see a pair that will work, and it's 12 times negative 9 is negative 108. If I add those together, I get positive 3.
Hey, we've had a student get sick in the boys' restroom in the ag building.
So my factors are x plus 12 and x minus 9. So my solutions are negative 12 and positive 9. Okay? If you need to refresh from Chapter 8, factoring, go to Google Classroom. I've got some great videos on there. Factoring when a is 1, factoring when a is greater than 1. I think it's like lesson 4 and 5. Chapter 8. You have to know how to do that, y'all. All right, number 4. Ooh, what do we see on this one? Easy work, as RJ would say. Okay, this one I don't have a B. Okay, so I can just take the square roots. Okay, but I first need to get that G by itself. So I'm going to divide by 25. So G squared equals 49 over 25. So I get rid of the square, I have to take the square root. If I do it on one side, I do it on the other. So G equals plus or minus, don't forget the plus or minus. Square root of 49 is 7, and the square root of 25 is 5. So there's your two solutions. And, okay, number 5. This will be 10j squared plus 7j minus 12 equals 0. So factors of 120 that add up to 7. And put in your calculator, and there's not any. So if there's not any, I can't do it that way. And it has a b, so I can't do square root method. So that means I got to do quadratic formula. Opposite of b, plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac over 2 times a. Know your song. All right, so a, b, and c. So negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4 times a times c divided by 2 times a. All right, so let's just do the discriminant part. 7 squared minus 4 times 10 times negative 20. Watch your signs here, and you should get 529. So that means I'm going to have two solutions. So negative 7 plus or minus square root of 529 over 20. So now square root of 529 is 23. So my two answers, negative 7 plus 23 over 20 is 4/5. And negative 7 minus 23 divided by 20, so negative 30 divided by 23 is negative 3 over 2. I mean, divided by 20.
Lisa Casey.
And number 6, set it to 0, 9k squared. We're going to bring this over so it can be plus 49k minus 30 equals 0. All right, so I don't have a common factor. And if I did the x, that would be 3 times 9, be negative 270 over 49. And we're going to divide by 9. So I look, put that in the calculator. I don't see any factors. So I can't use that. So we got to do quadratic with this big thing. So A, B, C. So negative 49 plus or minus square root of 49 squared minus 4 times A times C divided by 2 times A. So when I do my discriminant, just doing this part here is your discriminant, that's going to equal 3,481. So there's two solutions. So negative 49 plus or minus square root 3,481 over 18. So the square root of 3,481 is 59 over 18. So it splits off negative 49 plus 59. So that'd be 10 divided by 18 is 5/9. Then negative 49 minus 59 over 2a, which is 18, equals negative 108 divided by 18, so negative 6. Whew. Okay, page. All right, so they want us to, we're going to end up graphing this. All right, so A, B, and C, 4, negative 24, and 34 are my A, B, and C. So H and K, that's your vertex, isn't it? All right, vertex is H and K. So my axis of symmetry is your H. So opposite of B over 2A is axis of symmetry. So it'll be 24 divided by 2 times A, so it'll be 8. So my axis of symmetry is 3, which is also my X for my vertex. Now, you can put this in Y equals in your calculator and go to your table and look for 3 in your X. No, I don't have the Zoom thing.
It's on this team, but I'm trying to join.
Okay, sorry, I was interrupted. All right, so we've got the X of a vertex, which is, they call it H. So I need to know the K or Y. So you can, since we know X is 3, we can go to our calculator and store it for X, and then on our main screen put that equation in, and we'll find out that the Y is, or the K is, sorry, I lost my place, -2. Okay. So that store button in the calculator is great to use, because then you don't have to worry about inputting something wrong. As long as you just put the equation in and put the correct number in for X, you should get the correct answer. So my vertex is 3, -2. So we can go ahead and graph that. Go 1, 2, 3 to the right and down 2. So my vertex is right here. All right, so I need some intercepts. The y-intercept is always C, okay, if it's in standard form. So my y-intercept is 34. Well, that's way off this graph, so I can't graph that. My x-intercepts are going to be my solutions. So this one, we got to do quadratic formula. So A, B, and C. So negative B, so 24 plus or minus square root of negative 24 squared minus 4 times 4 times C. All of that divided by 2 times A. So we get 24 plus or minus, and the discriminant ends up being 32 over 8. So 24 plus or minus
Mr. Huffman, you need to come fill out a deposit ticket.
5.66 over 8. So if we break that down, you're going to get your solutions are 3.71
I'll be back by. I gotta pick
and 2.29. Okay, so when you're graphing that, so 3.71, 2.29. So when you're graphing that, 3.71 is going to be close to 4, and 2.29 is going to be closer to 2. So we've got a little skinny graph here. All right, so, oops. Okay. All right, the next one. Okay, this one's in vertex form. So I know my vertex is the opposite of that is my H, and then this is my K. So remember, that's opposite world. So it's when it comes out, it's going to be the opposite, positive 2. They want the A, B, and C. So to do that, I have to put it in standard form. Okay. So if I do this, I get -2 times x squared minus 4x plus 4, and bring down the -1. So all I did was multiply those two binomials and got that inside part here. So now let's distribute that -2. So -2x squared plus 8x minus 8, bring down the -1. So -2x squared plus 8x minus 9 equals 0. So this is standard form. So A, B, and C are -2, 8, and -9. All right, my y-intercept is my C, so -9. And now for my x-intercepts. Let's go ahead and graph our vertex. It's at 2, -1. Here's my vertex. Is it going to be going up or down? Well, I got that negative. Leading coefficient's negative, so that means my graph's going to be going down. If it's going down, y'all, is there going to be any solutions, any x-intercepts? There's none, is there? And if you put this in quadratic formula, your discriminant would equal -8, which means no solution. Okay? The b squared minus 4ac is your discriminant. So if I did that, you would have 8 squared minus 4 times -2 times -9, which equals -8. So no solution. Now, I don't have any other points. What I would do is put this in y equals. And looks for some points. So let me see. I haven't done that. If I put it in the calculator, y equals, let me clear that out, -2 times x minus 2 squared, oops, Karen, squared, minus 1. If I go to my table and look, I can see that 1, -3 is a point. And this is your line of symmetry, right? So that means that also 3, -3 is a point. 4, -9 is a point as well. So it's 0. So I can draw my graph. Okay, so when you're taking this test, I need at least 3 points on this graph. Even if there's no solution, no x-intercepts, put it in your calculator and look for some other points. Okay? All right. says use the method of your choice. So if I put this in standard form, ax squared minus 8a plus 7 equals 0. Okay, I can factor this because factors of 7 that add up to negative 8. So negative 7, negative 1. So x equals, remember it's the opposite when you're getting your solution. So x equals 7 and x equals 1, or a. Okay, number 2. Put it in standard form, 5x squared minus 7x minus 52. Okay. So a times c. Okay, there's not going to be any factors for that, so I need to use my quadratic. So a, b, and c. So opposite of negative 7, 7 plus or minus square root of negative 7 squared minus 4 times 5 times negative 52 over 2 times a. So that's going to equal, my discriminant is going to be a positive number, 1,089 over 10. So 7 plus or minus square root of 1,089 is 33 over 10. So split it off, 7 plus 33 over, so that'd be 40 divided by 10 is 4. And 7 minus 33, so that's negative 26 divided by 10, so it's negative 2.6. Okay. Get a drink, my voice is going. All right. So first I'm going to set it up standard form, 6p squared plus 5p minus 144. All I'm doing is getting everything to the right, to the left side. All right. So I'm going to see, I can't factor that one, so again, we're going to use quadratic formula. And y'all, you can use quadratic formula every time. It's just it takes a little bit more time. It's just kind of some tedious calculations. If you can factor, it's a lot easier. Square root method is bonus points, easy work. All right, so, but this one, we're gonna quadratic formula. So opposite of b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4 times a times c over 2 times a. So my discriminant is going to be a positive number, 3,481 divided by 12. So square root of 3,481 is 59. So negative 5 plus 59. So 54 divided by 12 is 9 over 2, or 4.5. And then negative 9 minus 59 is 64 divided by 12, which is negative 5.33. Right. So let's bring this 9 over, add it. So I'm going to get v squared minus 16v minus 57 equals 0. So, factors of 57. I think that's going to work. You can always put it in y equals negative 57 and see which pairs will add up to negative 16. Remember, we're dividing by a. So, negative 19 and times 3 is negative 57. And negative 19 plus 3 is negative 16. So that's going to work. Yay. So those are my factors, not my solutions. My solutions are the opposite. Okay. All right, then. We're going to start this. All right. So Natalie found a tennis ball outside a tennis court. She picked up the ball and threw it over the fence to the court, into the court. The path of the ball can be represented by the equation here. Okay, so she picked up that ball and threw it. She didn't kick it, she threw it, so it was up in the air, right? So here's the little girl, she throws the ball, and it does like that. How tall do you think that is? Well, if you look, your y-intercept's 5, isn't it? Okay, just to remind you that C is your y-intercept. All right, so find the maximum height. So that's here is your highest point, right? Remember, oh my word, what? Remember that if this is on X and Y, so this would be your maximum height here. So your Y coordinate of your vertex is your maximum height. So we need to find our vertex. So first thing I would do, if it's a calculator, I would look and see if I can see it on my table. Sorry, interrupted again. All right, as I was saying, I would first look on the table to see if maybe I could see my vertex. But if I couldn't factor it, most likely it's a decimal. So you're not going to be able to see it. You can kind of estimate where it's at. So the best thing to do is to find your axis of symmetry, which will be opposite of b over 2a. So negative 18 over 2 times negative 16. So that equals positive 9 over 16, which is 0.5625. So that's your H, okay? Or on the coordinate plane, it's your X, okay? So remember that little stow button? So we're going to take this and stow it for X so we can find Y. Okay. So when we plug that in, we're going to get 10.06. So it's 10.06 feet. Okay. All right, so at 0.562 seconds, it was 10.06 feet right here. That's your top. So this is the answer. It says, how long will it take to reach the ground? So at the ground, here's the ground, your x-axis, your y is 0, right? So that means we need to solve that. So that's your lovely quadratic formula. So negative 18 plus or minus square root of 18 squared minus 4 times negative 16 times 5 over 2 times negative 16. All right. So you're going to get negative 18 plus or minus square root of 644 over negative 32. And when you work that out, your answers will be negative 0.23 and 1.36. So we're not dealing in time because it's how long, so it's time. We don't have negative time. So it's going to be 1.36 seconds and it'll hit the ground. All right. This one is the exact same way. Okay. It's the exact same as the first one. I'm not going to work that one out for you, but I will give you the answers. I want you to work it out and see if you're getting the same thing. Okay, if you don't and you're struggling with it, stop by me before the test. Stop by and see me and show me what you're doing so I can point out what you're doing wrong, okay? But hopefully everybody will get it. All right, so this one, the maximum height, which is your y of your vertex, will be 43.06 feet. And then it says, how long will it take? How long? So it's time, so it's going to be a positive number. So it's 3.20 seconds. Okay. All right. So this one, they're wanting us to write equations in all three forms. All they give us is a graph. So my vertex is here. And so it's 2, 0. And my axis of symmetry, if you remember, axis of symmetry splits your graph. It's going right through 2 at x equals 2. Your roots are where it's touching your x-axis. So I've only got one root. It's at 2, 0. Now, there's not any more. There's only one. So you can say, if you want to, you can just say x equals 2. All right, so vertex form. We'll move this over to the side here. So vertex form is y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. So remember your vertex, this is your h and this is your k. So we can say y equals a times x minus h, so the opposite would be minus 2 squared plus k. So there's nothing there, so it's plus 0, which we don't have to write. All right, so the problem is I don't know what a is, and if you remember, we did this. What you're going to do is pick another point on the graph for an x and a y, okay? So I'm going to use, if I go, let's see, if I go to, here's 1, this is 2, 3, 4. So if I go to 1, 2, it's touching right there at 1, 2. So I'm going to use that for my x and y's. So I'm going to plug in for x and y so I can solve for a. So 2 equals 1 minus 2 is negative 1 squared, be 1a. So A equals 2. So my vertex form is going to be y equals A times x minus my h squared plus k, and k is 0. So I'll leave it that way. Okay? So now that I've got vertex form, I can get the others. Standard form, we just work that out. 2 times x minus 2 squared. So it'd be, so that'd be x minus 2 times x minus 2. So let's work this part. Multiply your binomials by distributing, right? So you get 2 times x squared minus 4x plus 4. And distribute your 2 with everything. So 2x squared minus 8x plus 8. So y equals what did I say? 2x squared minus 8x plus 8. All right, factored form. So I need to factor this. So the factors, 2 times 8 is 16. That add up to negative 8. We're dividing by a. So negative 4 times negative 4 is positive 16. And negative 4 plus negative 4 is negative 8. So those will work. So negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. Same thing over here, right? All right, so really I didn't have to do that because we know it's the opposite, so x equals 2, and it's a duplicate. So it's only crossing one time. So really, you could see that there, it's 2. So it'd be y equals x minus 2 x minus 2. Oh, wait, come on, pen. So it's the same thing. And you say, well, where did that 2 go? Well, if you really think about it, it's the common factor, isn't it? The common factor of my standard form would be 2 times x squared minus 4x plus 4. And if you factor that, you get x minus 2. Okay. All right. That kind of puts everything in quadratics that we've done, other than graphing the inequalities, which I just noticed I don't have a question for that on the test. So y'all got lucky on that one. So you don't have to, if that won't be on the test, inequalities. A lot of you are going like, whoo. All right, this one, vertex is 2, 4, correct? So 2, 4. So my axis of symmetry is x equals 2. My roots, there's none. It's not crossing the x-axis, right? So vertex form. So y equals a times x minus 2 squared plus 4. Remember, h and k, they go here. Okay, so vertex form, oops, I got to find a. So we need another point on the graph. So let's see, we're crossing right here. This is at 0, 12. So we're going to use that x and y to find a. So I'm going to plug in this x and y, and we're going to solve for a. So 12 equals, that would be 4a plus 4. So I subtract 4 and I get 8 equals 4a. So 2 equals a. So my vertex form will be y equals a, which is 2, times x minus 2 squared plus 4. Okay. Now standard form, all I'm going to do is take that and work it out. 2 times x minus 2 times x minus 2 plus 4. So let's do this part first. So it'll be 2 times. When I multiply these out, I get x squared minus 4x plus 4. Now bring down this plus 4 here. So distribute the 2. And I get 2x squared minus 8x plus 8 plus 4. They use this a lot, don't they? So 2x squared minus 8x, and 8 plus 4 is 12. So there's your standard form. 2x squared minus 8x plus 12. Factored form. So let's factor this. Greatest common factor is 2. So if I divide those by 2, I get that. So factors of 6 that add up to negative 4. 2 times 3 and 1 times 6. Well, dadgummit. That's not going to work. Oh, well, yeah, that's not going to work. Factored form is solutions, right? Do I have any solutions there? So there's none. Oh, I guess you could pull out your common factor, couldn't you? So 2 times x squared minus 4x plus 6. That's as far as you can factor it. Okay. All right, that's your study guide. Y'all, practice, practice, practice. There's a lot of quadratic formula on here, right? A lot of quadratic formula on here. So go back on Google Classroom. If you're still struggling with factoring, go back to chapter 8. If you're struggling with quadratic formula, go to 9.4. There's a great video on a lot of practice me doing quadratic formula problems. Okay. All right. Good luck. I hope everyone looked at this. See you test time. Oops.